Coming up, protesters arrested.
Trying to get that information out to the community and to the affected individuals.
Action begins to face lead in the waterways.
And the men's basketball team loses another one at home on Wednesday.
The historic fog continues to cover Iowa City.
All that and more coming up on this Friday morning edition of DITV News.
Don't go anywhere. DITV News starts right now.
Good morning and thank you for tuning in live to DITV and KRUI 89.7 FM.
I'm Samantha Bielema.
And I'm Jordan Tovar. The Iowa City Human Rights Commission is demanding the charges against protesters be dropped. In October, conservative speaker Chloe Cole spoke on the UI campus, which sparked protests where 7 people were arrested. You can see video from that protest now, and each individual arrested identifies as transgender or non-binary. Those arrests prompted another protest on December 8th, which led to another 9 arrests. This week, the Human Rights Commission condemned the arrests in a statement, saying they are encouraging Iowa City to review how future protests are handled by law enforcement and how the state government treats LGBTQ+ people in Iowa. Now, Ashley, it was pretty foggy on my way to work this morning. I couldn't exactly see.
Yeah, I know. It's been quite the day of travel for me as well.
And DITV's Ashley Wheel is live here in the Adler Journalism Building. Ashley, how is it looking currently?
Yeah, Jordan, I had to come inside because the rain is still kind of coming down from early this morning, but the fog looks to be letting up a little bit, but is definitely still around, as this hasn't just been affecting Iowa and Iowa City, but this fog has been across the entire U.S., covering just around 27 states, with a dense fog advisory has been initiated. The National Weather Service defines a dense fog with visibility dropping to a quarter mile or less. This fog has stretched back to Tuesday, making it the 3rd straight record-breaking day, as it has been at least 2 decades since such a dense fog has laid over so much of the country. I'll have more on this upcoming forecast for Iowa City for the week ahead, but until then, I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
The Office of Iowa Secretary of State Paul Pate has filed a bill that would prevent citizens from challenging Donald Trump's place on the 2024 general election ballot. This comes after multiple states around the U.S. have challenged Trump's eligibility to campaign in their primaries. States have been using Section 3 of the 14th Amendment as its basis, which blocks officials from running if they, quote, have engaged in insurrection or rebellion, unquote, against the United States. And if the bill passes, citizens can still challenge Trump's ballot place in court, but not through the current state law for objecting to candidates. The bill would limit challenges to whether or not the candidate makes the legal requirements to run and would take away having a felony as an obstacle to running. Another bill introduced recently would require students and teachers to sing at least one verse of the national anthem every day before school. House Study Bill 587 would allow students and teachers to opt out of the national anthem, but would require them to stand for it. The bill advanced out of the House subcommittee on Wednesday, but is still potentially changing as it goes forward. The University of Iowa Healthcare issued a temporary mask mandate on January 11th. UIHC made this decision after a rise in COVID-19, RSV, and flu cases. Masking up is just one way UIHC is hoping to decrease the spread of illnesses.
We do have very effective vaccines for influenza, COVID-19, and thankfully we're starting to, just this past year, have more options to try to prevent or mitigate infections from RSV, both in adults and in pediatric patients.
Masks are required on all inpatient units within Stead Family Children's Hospital, children and mothers units, and adult bone marrow units. These patients are the most at risk for catching respiratory illnesses. Iowa City has recently created a new program dedicated to lead water pipes. DITV's Brady Barron has more on this new program.
Behind me at the Iowa City Water Plant, the Water Division has been hard at work developing the new lead reduction program. The lead reduction program was developed as a response to new federal regulations adapted after the Flint, Michigan water crisis. Lead was commonly used in water service lines up until the 1950s and in solder used on copper pipes up until the 1980s. While there are several lead service pipes in Iowa City, the Water Division keeps an eye on the water in those pipes,
which helps to keep the lead or harmful ions from interacting with the water and getting into the drinking water itself.
In order to spread awareness about the new program, the Water Division held an open house on Wednesday for residents to come and ask questions and learn about the program.
At the open house, homeowners learned about what the city is doing next, including new ordinances that prevent the repair of lead service lines in favor of replacing them, and a new cost share program to help residents cover the cost.
We're here to help them better understand what their risks are, and we want to help them mitigate those risks.
The lead reduction program has a page on the Iowa City government website with more information and forms to help residents understand where to go next. From the Iowa City Water Plant, Brady Barrand, DITV.
Now we're going to check back in with DITV News Director Ashley Wheel, who is still live outside with more on the forecast.
Yeah, even though I'm inside, it's about 33 degrees outside, so I'm very happy to be staying warm because it's definitely getting warmer than it was, but still pretty chilly out, and it seems to be that it will be pretty consistent with that this whole week. Today, the rain will let up after this morning, and it'll feel pretty similar to it did yesterday, with temperatures only dropping from 37 degrees to 33 tonight. And besides that fog looking to slip away, tomorrow will be pretty similar again with high of 36 and clouds. And the week ahead is going to be quite cloudy consistently, with the temperature still sitting at a consistent low of 30 and highs looking to just be slightly warmer as well as they work their way up from the mid-30s to the mid-40s. So again, still looking pretty consistent across this whole week. Luckily, hopefully we won't see too many random things, but as we can see outside, the snow is starting to melt, so those slick conditions from earlier this week and last week are still in place. Back to you, Jordan.
Thanks, Ashley. Now we have Jace Bertrand in the newsroom with an update on former President Donald Trump's legal cases.
Thanks, Jordan. And earlier you mentioned Donald Trump in another trial, but on Thursday, two different trials moved ahead. In Washington, former Trump aide Peter Navarro was sentenced to 4 months in prison for criminal contempt of Congress. Navarro had been subpoenaed by a House Select Committee to provide documents related to the January 6 riots at the Capitol. After refusing to testify or provide documents, Navarro was convicted of contempt in September of 2023. Navarro immediately filed to appeal the sentencing, calling this a landmark case.
United States versus Peter Navarro has turned out to be a very important landmark constitutional case that is going to resolve important issues about the constitutional separation of powers, as well as the integrity, efficiency of presidential decision making.
Now heading over to New York, Trump briefly took the stand in his defamation trial brought by writer E. Jean Carroll. Carroll alleges that Trump sexually assaulted her in the mid-1990s, a claim that was ruled to be true by a jury in May of 2023. For that charge, Trump was ordered to pay Carroll $5 million in damages. Carroll is currently suing Trump for defamation of character, alleging that she faced harassment and death threats during the 2022 civil case. Trump spoke for only 3 minutes during his testimony, during which he engaged in several back and forths with the judge. Closing arguments are expected to begin later today, and Trump is facing a total of 91 charges across 4 cases. Back to you, Jordan.
Southern Iowa City residents are expressing concern over the development of the former Kirkwood campus. Plans to repurpose the old college campus into an industrial zone were approved on January 17th, and Procter & Gamble are currently planning to buy the property by February. Residents in the area have been complaining of smells such as air freshener and detergent coming from nearby industrial buildings and are concerned about the additional effects another industrial might have on the air quality. A petition against the building in the area was presented at the January 17th meeting, while a spokesperson for Procter & Gamble says the company is dedicated to being good neighbors for Iowa City residents. Now, Samantha, there's been some pretty big stuff happening around Hawkeye Athletics lately.
Yeah, there has, and it was a tough one on Wednesday night as the men's basketball team lost their 3rd game at home this season. DITV's Colin Carruthers has more on why Iowa isn't able to pull away.
I admittedly am not on a tightrope, but Iowa was all game against Maryland. It was suits and sneakers here in Iowa City for the coaches versus cancer game. Iowa trying to snap back after their close loss to Purdue, but unfortunately there was a lot of mistakes on both sides throughout this one. Mistakes varied from rebounding to turnovers to a very foul-heavy second half, especially on Iowa's part, leading Owen Freeman to fouling out.
We obviously made a ton of mistakes. What could we have done differently as coaches? What could we have done differently as players?
This had the game back and forth and brought an exciting finish to the Carver. As Maryland was only up by 2 points with just under 30 seconds remaining on the clock, Tony Perkins would knock down these two free throws at the charity stripe to tie the game at 67 apiece. But then it was the night's leading scorer for Maryland with 22 points, Jameer Young, who drove and hit this very clutch layup with just over a second left on the clock. Iowa would get a shot off with Peyton Sanford, but it wouldn't be enough as the Terrapins sneak out of Iowa with a 69-67 win, leaving the Hawkeyes in visible disappointment.
I've been disappearing in big moments, and that's something I want to be a lot better at.
After 2 straight losses in Big Ten play, they'll try to bounce back on Saturday as they go on the road to play Michigan, who they lost to earlier this year in their Big Ten home opener. From Carver Hawkeye Arena, Colin Carruthers, DITV Sports.
Thanks, Colin. We'll see if the Hawks can get revenge on the Wolverines. And the Iowa women's basketball team has been on a historic run over the last couple of years, but this season seems to have a special aura around it. In an attempt to capture this historic moment, the Daily Iowan and the Iowa Journalism School are creating a book that will document the season in a way never seen before. Students from the J School and the Daily Iowan will collaborate to write stories and capture photos with the goal of telling the story of the Hawks from all perspectives. You can pre-order the book, a copy of the book, on the Daily Iowan website now for just $30. The majority of the proceeds will go towards the journalism program, and $1 from each book pre-ordered will go directly to the Stead Family Children's Hospital. And the Iowa women's basketball team will take on the unranked Nebraska Cornhuskers tomorrow night at 1 p.m. The Hawkeyes are currently ranked 5th in the NCAA, dropping from the number 2 spot after a loss to the 12th ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. Nebraska is also going to have to bite down and find motivation where they can. The Cornhuskers left Happy Valley this weekend with their heads hanging low after losing to Penn State on Saturday. But top scorer and rebounder Alexis Markowski has a good chance of ruffling the Hawks' feathers this weekend, as she is their biggest threat on the inside. And guard Jazz Shelley is another key player for the Cornhuskers. She's a leader in assists and maintains about 13 points per game. It'll be interesting to see how both teams play coming off losses and if the Hawks can turn it around for the better. And this weekend will also feature both wrestling teams. The 3rd-ranked men's squad will open up the weekend on Friday with a trip to Champaign to battle with the Illinois Fighting Illini, who are fresh off a loss to 6th-ranked Ohio State. A key matchup on Friday will be at 174 pounds, where 9th-ranked Patrick Kennedy for Iowa will have his hands full against 3rd-ranked Edmund Ruth. On Sunday, they'll wrap up their Illinois road trip with a visit to Evanston and duke it out with the Northwestern Wildcats, who will be hosting the 6th-ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers 2 days before. On the women's side, the 2nd-ranked Hawks will travel east for the Indiana Tech duels on Friday to battle with Campbellsville and Indiana Tech. The weekend will conclude the next day with the Warriors Open in Fort Wayne. And today, the 20th-ranked University of Iowa gymnastics team hosts Southern Utah at 6:30 in Extreme Arena. Some faces on the mat you will recognize is sophomore Karina Munzo and senior Adeline Kenlin. Both of these members were named Big Ten Gymnasts to Watch by the conference for the 2024 season. Munzo and Kenlin both had an amazing season last year. Then Sunday, the Hawkeyes will travel to East Lansing, Michigan to take on the 14th-ranked Spartans at noon. So get excited, Iowa gymnastics fans. There's much to look forward to this coming weekend. Yeah, Jordan, there is a lot going on. What do you think about it?
Well, I'm certainly excited to see what happens with Hawkeye Athletics this weekend.
Me too.
Thank you for tuning in to DITV News and listening to KRUI 89.7 FM. Be sure to head over to thedailyiowan.com for all your latest news between Monday and Friday.
For DITV News, I'm Samantha Bielema.
And I'm Jordan Tovar. Have a fantastic Friday and a wonderful weekend.